As a security leader, you're not just defending infrastructure, you're protecting people and their rights, and that means going beyond access controls and encryption. You need to lead teams in applying privacy principles directly into the architecture, code, data models, and workflows of your organization. That's what privacy engineering is all about. Building privacy into the system, not tacking it on later. At the same time, you must ensure that your systems and processes can prove compliance with legal obligations like GDPR, CCPA, HIPAA, and others. This isn't just about passing audits. It's about maintaining trust, avoiding fines, and enabling your organization to innovate responsibly. Privacy engineering is about designing systems that enforce privacy principles through technology, not just policy. As a security leader, your job is to turn legal and ethical obligations into automated, consistent, and measurable controls that your teams can build into architecture, code, and operations. This isn't something you layer in before an audit. It's something you lead with from day one. Let's look deeper at the core principles you need to embed. You need to ensure that your systems only collect and retain the data that's truly necessary. That means asking hard questions during planning. Do we really need this field? How long do we need to store this record? The less you collect, the less you need to protect, and the lower your risk exposure. As a leader, you drive policies and systems that remove unnecessary data by default, and you back it with automation, like auto-deletion rules, limited data capture forms, and reduced logging for sensitive information. Data should only be used for the specific reason it was collected, and nothing more. You need to make sure your teams aren't recycling data for secondary purposes like marketing, profiling, or internal analysis without proper consent or legal basis. This principle forces your organization to be honest and transparent about why it's collecting data, and it's your role to make sure that technical enforcement matches intent. Whether that's through access restrictions, labeling systems, or audit trails, you ensure that data doesn't drift into unintended use. Individuals have a right to know what data you hold about them, how it's used, and how they can control it. You need to create systems that make it easy for users to view, modify, or delete their data. This includes building accessible privacy dashboards, enabling opt-in/opt-out functionality, and supporting data access or deletion requests. Your leadership helps turn these legal rights into user-facing features and ensures your back-end systems are designed to support them without friction or delay. All data is not equal. Sensitive data, like financial records, health data, or national identifiers, must be treated with extra care. Your job is to segment high-risk data sets, apply stricter access controls, and isolate them from less sensitive information. That might mean separate storage systems, stricter logging, encryption at multiple levels, or even containerization. Segmentation limits the blast radius in case of a breach and supports compliance by showing you've applied risk-based protection. Your job is to ensure that these principles don't live only in privacy policies. They're translated into technical decisions and built into the systems your teams create and operate. That's how you lead with privacy by design and transform compliance into a culture of accountability and trust. When you embed privacy into the foundation of your technology, you're not just meeting expectations, you're setting the standard. As a security leader, you're not expected to implement every control yourself, but you are responsible for setting the direction, defining the standards, and holding your teams accountable for execution quality. Your job is to make sure privacy engineering tools and practices are not just available, they're actually used, embedded into systems, and aligned with the risks you're managing. The tools you promote send a clear message. Privacy is not optional, it's engineered, enforced, and auditable. Start by driving the adoption of data classification frameworks that allow your teams to identify what data is personal, sensitive, or regulated. If you don't know what data you have, you can't protect it or comply with privacy laws. Alongside that, promote the use of tagging and metadata systems to manage data lineage, understand ownership, and keep track of how data flows across your environment. These are essential for both governance and accountability. You also need to ensure that encryption and tokenization are applied consistently, not just at rest or in transit, but increasingly while data is in use, especially for sensitive operations like search or analytics. For non-production environments or privacy-focused analytics, lead your teams to use pseudonymization or anonymization techniques that reduce risk while still supporting innovation. Privacy can't exist without granular access controls and audit logging. You need to make sure that only the right people, under the right conditions, can access personal data, and that their actions are logged, monitored, and reviewable. On top of that, implement consent tracking systems that record when, how, and for what purpose user consent was collected. That record needs to be traceable and verifiable, because if you ever face a challenge or audit, that's your proof. And for high-sensitivity use cases, especially in research, health, or advanced analytics, you should guide your organization toward adopting privacy-enhancing technologies, like differential privacy, homomorphic encryption, or secure multi-party computation. These tools are still maturing, but they offer powerful ways to unlock value from data without exposing it. Ultimately, your role is to ensure that privacy isn't left to chance. It's engineered with intention. These tools aren't just technical add-ons. They are the foundation of how you demonstrate responsibility, earn trust, and keep your organization out of the headlines. Compliance isn't just a legal checkbox. It's your responsibility to make it operational, scalable, and embedded into the way your organization runs. As a security leader, you're the bridge between legal, risk, and data governance teams and the technical implementation on the ground. It's your job to translate regulatory requirements into practical controls, measurable outcomes, and clear documentation that your teams can execute with confidence. You need to lead the charge on conducting privacy impact assessments anytime a new system, service, or process involves personal or sensitive data. These assessments aren't just for compliance. They help your teams anticipate privacy risks early and design mitigations before launch. You also need to ensure that records of processing activities are maintained and updated, so your organization can demonstrate accountability and transparency when it matters most. Your oversight extends to auditing how data is shared with third parties and vendors. You can't assume external partners are handling data properly. You have to validate it. That means reviewing contracts, verifying data protection clauses, and ensuring technical safeguards are in place. You're also responsible for making sure breach detection, notification, and response workflows are clearly defined, tested, and aligned with regulatory timeframes. When an incident occurs, your ability to respond quickly and report accurately protects both your customers and your reputation. And don't overlook training and awareness. You must ensure that every team, not just IT, understands how to handle data, follow policies, and meet legal obligations. When you embed these responsibilities into your operating model, you shift privacy from being a reactive compliance burden to a proactive design standard. That's how you lead an organization where compliance isn't just met, it's maintained, operationalized, and built into the way people work every day. So, what's your leadership takeaway? Privacy engineering is how you show that your organization doesn't just talk about privacy. It builds it, enforces it, and lives it. Your leadership ensures that data protection isn't an afterthought or an audit scramble, but a core principle of how you design, deliver, and govern technology. You define what good looks like, you drive alignment across teams, and you create the infrastructure of trust that modern business depends on.